The YouTube.
Okay.
The YouTubes. Our staff is freaking out on me right now. They're yelling, "Oh, you got to start it. You got to start it." Chillax, bro. Chillax. We're coming. We're coming. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Prague was great from a German point of view. Okay, cool.
All right, we're on there. All right, let me go ahead and start recording because I'll forget if we don't do that.
Yeah, don't forget.
Yeah, I just started recording. Let me go ahead and do a quick intro. David Hone is making fun of me because I always go into sports mode. But hey, everybody, welcome to Critique Arena, where things happen. Images battle, some winners and some losers, some agreeing, some disagreeing. Wait, that's for the podcast. I don't actually have an intro for.
We need a 3D animation of two paintings fighting and wrestling and rolling around and punching. That's what we really need.
Sparks flying everywhere, super cheesy.
Dumb.
Oh, Mary's asking where Jake is. It's always only two of us. Jake is on assignment in the Amazon.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean he's on the Amazon?
He's on assignment in the Amazon doing an illustration project for National Geographic.
Amazon.
Yeah, he's in the
Amazon means like a website where they sell everything.
Yeah. Jake is
he said he might show up. You never know.
He's studying piranha. And he's trying to figure out why they're so angry.
Studying piranha. And
he's working on an illustration campaign to make piranhas not seem so aggressive. They've gotten a bad rap. They're actually nice. That's what Jake's doing. Okay.
Okay.
Let's get down to business. We got a lot of business.
Yeah. Now, do you have anything else you want to start with before we dive in here?
No, I think we're ready to go. This is going to be a special edition. I'll let Will go ahead and dive in. This is going to be super fun. We're excited about this.
Okay. So yeah, this is going to be, we actually are planning to hopefully encourage people to watch the replay of this in the future, because we think that there can be a lot of good teaching moments in this session. And we're doing something totally different. For those of you who haven't gotten our emails or seen our social media, normally we go through a ladder. So we have all 16 images that we've picked out of a pool of, let's say, anywhere from 75 to 150 images. And we pit 16 against each other, and the top two win. This time this month was the same thing, and the deal was the same. But when we looked at the images, we realized that there weren't 16 that could make it to that final 16, and we're taking this on as ourselves, as we did not prepare you guys. So this is our fault. And what we want to do, though, is use this month as a teaching opportunity so that subsequent months are much better and the quality goes way up. Now, when we talk about quality, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about the quality of the idea, the concept, and then we're talking about the execution of the art side, right? The visual art side. And you cannot have one before the other. Having an illustration without a good idea is like starting a joke without knowing the punchline, right? So I was talking about this in our class earlier this morning, our children's book pro class, and I was saying, so Lee, have you heard, if I started a joke and I didn't know where it was going, and I said, hey, have you heard the one about the two guys? You know, the one that's big and the one that's small, and you're waiting for something good, right? And
here we go. Yeah. What is?
And so I don't know where it's going. So I go, well, the little one caught on fire, but I don't know why it's funny, because I don't know where the punchline is. So it's just going to die. And that's where we felt like these illustrations went. For the most part, there were some really good ones, but there just wasn't enough to hold the ladder and to pit them up against each other. So I am going to share my screen, and I'm going to start off with, we've got a little presentation here, and then we're going to get into some critiques. So we've critiqued some of the images. We're going to talk about a lot of them today. So I think that you guys, we're really hoping that you guys will be really happy with what we come up with, as far as the fact that we're talking about a lot of images, where
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
mean,
times we only talk about 16.
right. And the whole goal is to maybe change your approach on not just this topic in particular, but on all the topics. I mean, there might be a light bulb moment today that
Right.
you haven't had before on, oh my gosh, this is how I come up with a, not just an image, but a striking image or
Right.
more interesting images. And so that's our goal today, is just to kind of work through it. It's not to beat anybody up or, oh, it wasn't good enough or that kind of thing. I mean, it really is. It's like the perfect opportunity is, how do you go from here to the next level?
Right.
And this is, and we're going to show you how to do that. So that's our intent. And I hope it lands that way.
Yeah. Okay. So I want you to think of images as either meaningful or meaningless. And everything that we come in contact with in our world is either meaningful to us or it's meaningless. Okay. So I want to give you an example really quick. Does anybody know what this is? Does anybody remember this? And if you don't, I'm going to tell you what it is. This is Google Glass. And at the time when the engineers and the project managers were working on it, it was very meaningful to them. That was a project that they thought was going to change the world. It is meaningless to us today because we do not use it, because it did not work for whatever reasons. We're not going to get into all those right now. But even to the engineers now, they've moved on. They're working on other projects and stuff. So your work is, you need to make it, the goal is to make it meaningful so that it has lasting impressions on people. Again, all that we're trying to do, the main goal that we're trying to do is prepare you to get jobs from art directors in the children's book publishing world. That's our focus, right? And if you can't attract the attention of an art director, your work is going to be meaningless to art directors. Okay, it might be meaningful to you, and you may come away from this today thinking, well, my picture's still meaningful, I still like it. That does not matter to us if you don't attract the attention of art directors.
Right. And to bring it back to the Google Glass, it wasn't that it wasn't a great product. It actually was. I'm sure I didn't actually have one, but the problem was it landed on an audience that had no idea of what to make of it. They didn't know how to integrate it. So they're left wondering like, that doesn't relate to me. And so it failed. It wasn't that it wasn't an okay thing. It just didn't relate. So it's important to make that point.
Right. Here's another one. This was back in our day when we had record players. They thought they were going to come out with a record player that was portable, but for obvious reasons, the needle was scratch and move. You couldn't move it around. The whole idea of it being portable is that it doesn't move. And so that one failed too. So what we want to do is create meaningful illustrations that have great concepts and great ideas that stay with you and that are long lasting past the time of the illustration. So we're taking this word. This was the word that you were given to illustrate. And the word is lucky. And to us, lucky is either something good happening to you by chance or avoiding something bad happening to you by chance. Remember that, because a lot of people illustrated something that other than lucky. And you guys can submit anything you want, but you have to understand that we as the, Lee and I, or Jake and Lee, or Jake and me, when we're picking the top 16, we have to go by, who illustrated the word the best. So if you illustrated unlucky, we're not going to pick it. And if you illustrated, something other than lucky, or something that we couldn't understand, we can't pick it. We could only go for things that were lucky. Okay. So here's the next thing. So a lot of people illustrated symbols of like a 4-leaf clover or a horseshoe. Okay. And just by putting that in there. So the thing you have to realize with that is everyone knows that those are symbols for luck or lucky. So there's nothing that you're going to be able to do if that's your main idea to then attract an art director. All the art directors know that a clover, a 4-leaf clover, and a horseshoe are symbols for lucky. So if that's your big idea, it's not going to be memorable because it's so cliche. Everyone already knows that. So you gotta know that going in too. Okay, we need more of a story. And so, I just pulled some images off, anything that says lucky on it, or where someone's just winning, and there's no further story, that's not going to land either. So you're going to see some of our images. Here is a great example of illustrating one word. Okay, optimism. It's not someone that is like, looking happy. It's not just as simple as that. It's actually digging in and saying, the artist who did this said, well, I'm going to make an exaggeration of this word where it's going to be impossible for this monkey to actually grab onto this elephant. But we get it. As viewers of this, we totally get what is happening here with the elephant. Of course, he's not going to be able to do it, but the monkey is hopeful, and so is the elephant. So they're both optimistic here. Okay. This would be a great illustration for the word vision. I don't know who the artist is on this, but think about it. If it was one word that said vision, right? That's the word that you're given to illustrate. The thing that makes this fun, and the thing that makes it memorable, and the thing that is going to make an art director want to work with you is the ability to see from someone else's perspective and to write more into the story and say, well, it could be my vision, it could be a little kid's vision, it could be a little boy's vision, but what if it's a rhino's vision, right? And taking that and going, wow, I cannot believe, how creative this is to be able to see that a rhino is going to see the world totally different from us. And that's what makes it funny. That's what makes it creative. And that's what makes it memorable. And what's going to make an art director go, I've got to work with this person. I love their mind. So we're looking for illustrations that are illustrating action and emotion and telling a story. We're always going to be looking for that. So for any upcoming assignment that you're working on, just know action and emotion, either one or the other or both, is what's going to probably make your illustration more memorable to show that. This is an illustration that I did a long time ago. I didn't have the word lucky in mind, but the story that I was trying to tell was about a bird who just found the biggest bonanza of food, and he's going to try to figure out how to eat this, even to carry away this worm. So he's lucky. So it doesn't have any four-leaf clover in it. It doesn't have any horseshoe or anything like symbolic like that. It's just a story about a bird and a worm. Now, if you take this illustration by Carter Goodrich, some people illustrated things similar to this, not this exact subject, but basically in this one, some people might say, well, this dog's really lucky because he's got all the toys. But is he lucky, or is he bossy? Did he take the toys? Is he saying, if you come over here and try to take my toys, I'm going to get you? So it's not so much lucky as it is illustrating bossy, right? So I came up with a couple of examples that I just roughed out really quick. So I want to show you some ideas that are close and what will make them better for this. So you could say that this guy is lucky, but I would say he's either stupid or he's a daredevil, okay? Because he's looking up. He probably either heard or sensed that piano was falling. He made it before he passed through there. He might have even seen them wrestling with this piano, lifting it up, and he decided to walk under it anyway. If I make a slight modification right here, now he is definitely lucky, because with the headphones on, he couldn't see it. He couldn't hear it. He's totally oblivious to what's happening. So that's something bad that almost happened to him, right? Here's another object is this guy right here is definitely unlucky. So that would not illustrate this prompt. But if the idea was to show that he's lucky and unlucky at the same time, because we can play with these concepts, right? What if we put an airplane in that he came from, where he got unlucky, the airplane caught on fire and started to crash, but he was lucky that he had a parachute. But then he's unlucky again because he's going to get eaten by the shark. Maybe the shark's not in there at all. Maybe he's just lucky, right? If we took that shark away. Here's a guy who's digging. Notice some concepts like this, where something good was about to happen to someone, but the story wasn't finished. And so, like with this illustration, the way it is now, the guy, why is he digging here? Out of the
He's
whole,
just out in the world, just
yeah,
like
in the whole
randomly
world,
digging.
why did he choose this spot to dig? That seems like more than luck. That seems like there's questions that I can't even figure out why. But we could put a little bit more in there to show, oh, he showed up on a job site, he has to dig for work, and he's about to get really lucky, right? So the thing that most people did wrong was they didn't finish out a story. They didn't tell a complete story. And because of that, it left the illustration a little bit more ambiguous. So we're looking for things that are clearly by chance, lucky, or by chance something bad didn't happen to you, or something did happen to you by chance. Okay, now Jake's or Lee's going to share his screen here.
Yeah, hold on one second. Okay, what I wanted to share with you guys is just sort of the concepting process in the beginning and how to wade through ideas. This is before you start drawing. This is before anything starts happening on the page. And I do think that a lot of times, especially if you haven't trained the idea of research, then thumbnailing, sometimes our students go to finish too quickly. And so I just wanted to kind of go through it. Like, how would I approach this project? What kind of things would I be thinking about? And then just talk about it and talk about the process. Feel free to ask questions or whatever. And Will can interject too. But this is kind of how I would go through it. And I'll just read through what I wrote down. It always starts with writing. That's the quickest and easiest way to go through stuff. So what is lucky? You got to ask yourself that. In my opinion, it's situations where you barely avoided bad luck or disaster just by chance. Like Will was saying, there's an element of chance there. Lucky is a sort of an abstract idea. And so the big thing that I want to do when I'm concepting is come up with nouns, where things that are concrete. And so instead of trying to illustrate lucky, I'm trying to illustrate a situation where I barely avoid disaster. It's a very different idea. And then all of a sudden the images start coming. So things I wrote really quickly. You're in a boat that goes an incoming tidal wave and you're out at sea. So you actually go over it before it comes in, super lucky. You just missed an avalanche. You're at the top of the mountain. The whole thing goes down. You get found in an avalanche. You're just barely avoiding bad luck. You're barely avoiding disaster. You didn't take the train. You took a bike and then you see the train crashing, just these little things. But then I give myself little warnings, like one in a situation like this is you got the last thing available, like a ticket or ice cream or something like that. But then I'll write in, it's potentially boring and you need to rethink it, or you really have to nail it. You have to know sometimes if you're going to do a cliche or something that's really small, like a ticket, lottery ticket or something like that, you really have to nail it. There's a danger that comes there. I always think that too, when people want to do, like, say, for example, religious painting. You know who else did a religious painting? Michelangelo. If you're going to do a religious painting, you better nail it. And so that's what I think about with these things too. Like as I'm brainstorming, these little warning bells go off, like, oh, that's cliche, or there's going to be problem illustrating that. Like if somebody's holding a key and it's really important, well, a key is this big. So my composition really needs to be perfect if I'm highlighting somebody holding a key. Mm-hmm. This was an idea that I started to get excited about. So situation where you avoid bad luck. How about a scene where you somehow blend in where you otherwise wouldn't have? And I started thinking about the idea of camouflage on animals and things like that. It's super lucky if a zebra is in an area where they're covered, where they're hidden. You know what I mean? It's very lucky, even though they're sort of built for that as well. And so I just start to get the tingling of what's a good illustration. Now, while I'm doing this, I go ahead and I start grabbing images. They're not perfect images. They do not illustrate the exact themes I'm talking about over here. But I start to think, okay, what kind of compositions might a tidal wave have? Let me go back. What kind of compositions might a tidal wave have? What kind of color palette might it have? What kind of palette and what kind of shot would an avalanche have? You don't just go straight for the shot, like, okay, I'm doing an avalanche and the guy survived an avalanche, and then you just draw it from the side and the avalanche is falling. You really got to then think about what's the best art to enhance what I came up with. And so a lot of times it like, okay, I got my idea, you draw it straight up and then it's boring. And so, and I don't mean you personally, I'm just mean a lot of people go there too quick. Okay. This one was a good one too. There's something that I would like to explore. When something bad happens to someone else, it leaves you in the lucky position. And that's what I thought of when I saw this image right here with the spaceship. If somebody else gets abducted by the spaceship and you add another figure in there as the person who's lucky, it's a totally different take on luck. That guy, like, I'm lucky because I didn't get picked for this thing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways to take it. But there's warning bells that go off with that too. So I'll go through that. Again, my next little concept would be something good that only happens to you. Unexpected victory. Right when I came up with the word unexpected victory, or that phrase, I thought about Apollo Ono in the Olympics and the speed skating. I think I got an example of it here somewhere. Let's see. There it is. Where they're racing and everyone that's in first, second, and third falls and the fourth place person wins. Super funny and super lucky, and actually does happen. An old horse winning a race, just an unexpected victory, you know, and you just want to list all these things out as quick as you can and get as much as you can, because there'll be the ones that really start to hit for you. And so the lottery win, I know a lot of you guys thought about that. Man, that is such a cliche. And so that would be my warning bell, like ding, ding, ding. It's cliche. You can't, like, somebody holding a ticket and winning the lottery is so boring. But what is interesting about a lottery win, and that's where my next phase would be, is like, what's interesting about somebody winning? Well, it changes their life. And so that's what the lottery brings. It brings extravagance in a capacity that you'd never have the ability otherwise to go that crazy. And so I started thinking about
let me interrupt for a second. They did that in Dumb and Dumber. So the scene that you would illustrate is, I don't know if you remember the movie, but when Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels finally find out how much money is in the briefcase. I mean, they didn't know there was any money in there. They open it up and it's filled with money. Oh, okay. The next scene is pretty much as they come driving up in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. They get out with the most audaciously expensive clothes, and they're handing money to everybody. They're just throwing money around. Right. So that would be a possible illustration for showing the lottery win, you know, like,
right. But then the bells, you know, that's a great example. Well, because then the bells would go off like, okay, so what's the first thing that everybody's going to buy if they win the lottery? A car or a big house. So those are then the top card choices. And for me, I'd want to dig a little bit deeper, because when you got real wealth like that the lottery would bring, maybe it makes you like an insane person. Like you become the Tiger King. Like you have this whole, like, you know, a whole thing of tigers. Or like for me, you know, I was talking on the podcast about how I want a house with a slide going from the second floor to the first floor. You know, multiply that times 10 and your house has slides all over it. Well, now you've entered in from a boring, like typical illustration of somebody with a new Ferrari to a house with all these slides, or somebody who owns a bunch of tigers just personally in a neighborhood. So now you set up somebody in a neighborhood who's got tigers, who lives in a neighborhood with other people who do not have tigers. So one of the things Will and I talked about that can set up luck is contrast. The person who has versus the person who doesn't have can all of a sudden make a really, really interesting image. I started thinking about Michael Jackson, because he actually had this kind of wealth the whole time, and you end up ending up with Neverland Ranch with monkeys and all the weird stuff. Like that stuff becomes super interesting. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Okay, so even just getting unusual stuff in luck, that something good that happens to somebody, like a crack in the sidewalk that allows sunlight to hit a piece of dirt and then a flower grows up through it. I mean, that's a super lucky kind of thing. But anyway, I'm just running through all this stuff. So the next category I came up with was bad luck sprinkled with good luck. And again, the bells start going off. The cons are, this can be a really confusing thing if there's bad luck and good luck happening in the same image. And so Will and I kind of chatted about it and thought, and this happened a lot in our submissions, is you have to lean it one way or the other. Which one is dominant? And then you make your choices. So examples of that could be like someone finding a message in a bottle. Well, that means you're shipwrecked. That's bad luck, good luck. A life raft when your ship sinks. Living next to a fire department if your house catches on fire. there's all these like kind of mixes, and you just got to figure out which story you're actually trying to tell. It can't just be like, okay, he lives next to a fire, his house caught on fire, and he lived next to a fire station. Boring illustration if it's 50-50.
Right.
Okay. Lastly, superstition, wishing for luck, charms, symbols. That is, if you enter lucky into your Google search, that's what comes up under lucky. It's just, hey, here's a bunch of, that's why I said last month, don't draw a 4-leaf clover. If you're going to draw a 4-leaf clover, you better nail it. And not just like with the way the 4-leaf clover looks, but what's the concept behind that? Typically it can be extremely cliche, and somebody just having luck because it's random. I just picked up an object and I guess I'm lucky.
And we have one that I think that I can think of. There may be more, but I think of one that actually got really close to nailing it with a 4-leaf clover.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's really tough. You have to add more story, and this person did. So, and we're going to show it.
Yeah, any one of these is possible. I don't want you guys to think, oh, I can't do that. But what it means is you do have to go the extra length to add to it, and just come up with your own bells and whistles of when there's a warning sign. Hey, I'm in the cliche zone.
Right.
I need to somehow add something to it. And me and Will were chatting about it earlier, and talking about like, how could you use symbols and superstition as an interesting, like somebody walking under a ladder? No, it's not going to work. But we started talking about the strange superstitions that maybe athletes have, like if they're on a winning streak and they don't cut their beard, or they do some weird ritual at breakfast, they eat 4 bowls of cereal together, whatever the weird thing is. Kind of funny, but then the bells go off. Would an audience relate if they didn't know who the athlete was and what they're doing? If I just saw somebody with a long beard, why does he have a long beard? I don't know. I mean, so you got to think about how you're going to tell that story. So anyway, I don't know if that helps you guys or not, but writing this stuff out, figuring out where the problems are before you start drawing, and then getting some kind of reference to start getting palettes and shots and shapes together is a great way to start to build this process up.
Yeah. Before we start showing you the critiques, I just want to say that doing this was actually an internal battle in SVS. In other words, we had to have a special meeting to even go this route and not do the critiques. And I want you to know, it would have been much easier for us to have done regular critique arena. This was much harder. I spent way more time. I spent hours on this. We had meetings, and one of the things that I said was, a lot of our students at SVS are doing SVS instead of going to art school. If this was my illustration class at university, you're welcome, you guys. I really appreciate your appreciation. If I had this assignment, if I'd given this assignment in school, I would do the same thing. I would stop and we'd have a teaching moment, and then I'd actually have my students redo the assignment. Even if I had to bump another assignment out of the way, I would say, let's take another crack at this same one so that you guys have a chance to hit it out of the park. And, we're saying, in our meeting, like, how do we pull the rug out from under them? Is it going to make people upset and stuff? So we had to take all this into consideration. So, I've seen some comments where people are a little, not upset, but just like questioning whether this is a good idea or not. And I get you, and I remember when I was in school, some of the lessons that I learned the most were when a teacher was like, time out. Everybody messed this up, or most of the people had really struggled with this. And so we're going to go back and redo some stuff. So that's why we chose to go this route. So I'm going to share some critiques, and I'm going to start with this one. I don't know there's a name on most of them. So this one's by Levi. Some of them might not have a name on them.
And these are picked at random just for the teachable moments, by the way.
Yeah.
I just want to add that this is just like, hey, this is a teachable moment. It wasn't great art or bad art, or we didn't even judge it like that.
If yours isn't in this group, it doesn't mean anything. It's just that we just grabbed some and said, we're going to try to learn from these different ones. But just know that the message I wanted to give is, if we had it would have been the easy route to just go ahead and do critique arena like normal. but you guys would not come away better equipped for the next time we do a single word prompt. So the next time we do a single word prompt, I am really looking forward to what you guys come up with. So what I'm going to do now is I've got these words over here: not lucky, boring lucky, symbol of lucky, ambiguous, unreliable, or interesting lucky. So we're hoping to get into that interesting lucky category at the bottom. And if I can remember, I'm going to put a tick mark in here. I'll just give myself an extra layer for each one after we do one. So this one by Levi was done. I thought it was one of the better ones for sure. Really good concept, but I just did a little draw over it. I would take it a little bit further. This is a great idea for the word lucky. Absolutely. But where I think it's missing is in exaggeration and in clarity. I feel like the fish at first with the bear, I couldn't tell if he tore off a piece of this fish or if that was another fish. So drawing in critical areas really matters. And so this would be my draw over. I would actually make the big fish even bigger to emphasize the difference. And I would draw that little fish better. So this one, I'm definitely going to put this one in the interesting category. So we're going to start off with that.
Yeah.
And
the other thing, are we done? Or can I add to?
Go ahead.
Right there? Yeah. The only other thing that I would say to this person is like, this is a composition that works okay. Again, the bells going off in my head, think there's probably a better composition for this at the side of the stream or something like that. It's just kind of what my natural go-to is. Maybe this is the best composition, but anytime I see something that's just straight from the front, there better be a really good reason why we're seeing the bear from the front, because it doesn't show that much volume. And I just think there might be a compositional change too, is once you get here, I think there's probably a better shot.
Okay. All right. So the next one is this one by Emmanuel. And one of the things that disqualified this one, or one of the problems that we had with this one, is anytime your illustration relies on words, like a word bubble or something, what we're looking for really here is illustrations that can tell a story with just the picture. It's a crutch if you have to use words in your image. So this one was ambiguous. We weren't really sure what was going on. But
zoom in a little bit so we can.
They're castaways, or they're stuck out at sea, and they're wanting to find land or home, and then this turtle comes along with a like a town on its back and stuff. And so it could be a very specific story that you're telling, that maybe you're writing a story and maybe this is really appropriate for the story that you're telling. But just remember, everything we judge is based on the fact that I'm an art director and I roll up on your portfolio and you're not there to defend it. I just get to see your work and judge your work. So always keep that in mind whenever you do Critique Arena. If you're trying to do a piece for your portfolio, is that an art director is going to see this because maybe they see your web portfolio. Maybe they see your Instagram post and you're not there to explain it to them. And you should never have to explain an illustration. It should be self-explanatory. So I'm going to put this one in the ambiguous category. I did say, that the movie Castaway kind of solved this problem. One way to solve it would be to show, the hair growth being, the being really tanned, and then the ship comes in the background, And so in this scene, Tom Hanks doesn't even know that he's rescued yet. And then the next scene is, I think, is his wife running to get the phone or something, or anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go back for a second. I get to add my little last 2 cents. The one thing about this is, as I read it, I agree with Will. It's very, very confusing. Again, there's some really cool elements, like, of course, a turtle with a big town on his back. It's awesome. There's so much to do there. But the little bubble that I zoom in on, the waves are getting us nowhere. It doesn't even relate sort of to the scene. There's some people guessing in the chat about what's happening in the scene, but if we're all guessing, it's too ambiguous and stuff. Is he trying to get away? Is he lost at sea and now he's going to be found? I just don't know. And so, but the important thing I want to say is the waves aren't doing anything different than a normal water image.
Right.
So I don't understand what what the bubble is trying to emphasize.
Right. Right. So some fun drawing, some neat ideas in there, but again, it ends up ambiguous. So let's see. So the next one, this one was really well drawn. It's a great illustration. What I think this illustrates is a phrase, good choices. I don't think this is luck. And to get to this point where you have a great family, a great wife, a great house, and grandchildren is great choices. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens from making good choices. So I would say that this is not lucky. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I agree. It's sort of like the I'm trying to think of a baseball player, but I don't know any. But the super great baseball player who hits a home run, that's not luck. That's a really good baseball player.
Right. So this is a great illustration, not taking anything away. And like when we were choosing the top 16, this one made it into the top 16, but then we had to really think, like, if I'm judging this concept, I don't think this is lucky, and Asia is saying, well, very literal. I think we have to use the same criteria for everyone when we go through these, and I don't want to give a pass to somebody because they have a good drawing like this one.
Right. We're not critiquing the art necessarily.
Yeah,
we're just saying
really about the concept.
Yeah, it's a great way to show you guys, especially going through the images like this, even instead of the way we normally do it with the critique arena, that this is the way art directors see images. And they're looking for something to put on their magazine cover or for a story, and they're illustrating luck, man, they're going to have a tough time getting there with this, even though you can,
right.
if I explain it long enough, oh yeah, there's some luck there. Everybody's still alive and they lived and they picked a good partner. Yeah, I guess there's some luck there, but it's just it's such a long way around.
Anybody who's raised kids knows that it's not luck to have kids turn out. It's a lot of hard work. Okay, moving on. This one is got great color, fun composition, and it's on the nose. It's when you operate one of these machines with the claw, I don't know what they're called. Your whole goal is to be lucky enough to get the prize inside. And so here's an example of someone getting the prize. But my contention is, if I'm an art director, and please don't take this the wrong way, but if I'm an art director, I look at that and I'm like, I don't care. We've seen it a million times, right? That's the whole point of this machine, is to get the thing. Nothing happened here out of the ordinary. Your job as illustrators is to show art directors something they haven't seen before. That's it. Show them something new and fresh in the concept. Show them something funny. Show them something interesting. Show them something sad. Show them another story. So when we went to Pizza Planet in Toy Story, there was a whole story that was happening inside this machine. That was interesting. We'd never seen a toys inside of this machine fighting and trying not to get clawed, right? So there was a story within this apparatus. So I'm going to put this under boring, lucky.
And then it's also a symbol of luck. I mean, why is that the one?
Yeah, the little cat. It's a Japanese symbol.
Again, it's not that it's a bad illustration. It's just not enough.
Yeah, the color palette's great. And that's why we're not critiquing the illustration. You guys are great at there's so many of you that are doing great compositions, great color, great rendering, great design, great drawing. But you're going to be forgotten about. You're not going to get picked by art directors. We have, students that are doing really good portfolios, and they're like, how come I'm not getting hired? And when we look at what they're illustrating, a lot of times it's the concept. They don't have interesting concepts. And so we want to attack this now. With this one right here, I looked at it and I could not figure out.
We talked about it for a while.
What was going on. eventually I said, I think I know what the artist is trying to convey. I could be totally wrong, but your job again is never to make the art director guess. They should look at your image and go, oh, that's such a great way of showing that concept. Right. So the way that I would do it, I think, because I've thought about this one a lot, is to show this kid with, the fact that he doesn't have a dad. That's what I think it is. I think she's lucky because she has a dad and he's unlucky. And that we talked about the other one where you have family, where, raising up a family is not luck. In this case, if you're born without a dad, or you're born with a dad that passes away or that leaves, that's bad luck. That, to me, that's truly bad luck. That's had nothing to do with you. With the kid, it has everything to do with whether they were lucky or not, that they were born into a family with a dad. So that's how I would solve that one.
Some chatter over in the chat box that, it's one dad spends time with the kid and the other one sort of buys the love there. And that's sort of what the concept is. I don't think that's readily apparent, but okay, say it even said that under it. It's still the way this image is drawn. So there's the idea and then there's the execution. And so how did they execute that? So then the concept is, dad trying to buy love, versus another dad who shows it. It's not a horrible concept, but it's just like right now they're just across on the and horizontal spread. It's not readily apparent. There's so much you could do with that concept. This is sort of like the storyboard version of that. Like, here's a kid with some stuff on the left. Here's a kid with a dad on the right. Okay, I'm done. Instead of thinking composition point of view.
Yeah.
How do you make it more interesting?
It's just too ambiguous. I would have never got that. So I'm going to put it under the ambiguous category, but moving right along, because we got a lot of these and we're running out of time. So I'm going to keep moving. And so the next one we have is this one by Ben. And I thought this one was good. I actually thought that this one works. But I feel like it's a little bit confusing with the composition. So this is one where I think the composition, and then there's a creature back here that we
could not understand what.
I don't know why he's in there, and that kind of makes things a little bit more, like, well, maybe we don't have the concept down exactly. Don't put things into your illustration that aren't furthering the story, unless they're flavor for what's happening. So in other words, you can have a kid in a kid's room and you can add a bunch of toys and things, but that goes along with the kid's room. Maybe each toy isn't important to the story, but as a whole, it adds to the flavor. But what is that guy adding to the flavor? What I would do on this one is I would draw it a little bit more. There's this tangency that's happening right here, again with his feet against the foliage and stuff. And I'm not sure if he's coming out of the water, maybe he can actually get him. So I don't know if he's actually lucky. He might get eaten. I feel like with him up in the air, maybe he needs to even be higher. Maybe he's up here. He's truly lucky because we see that there's alligators down there, but he's been saved. So I think you got to be clear about, is he lucky?
Right. And if you want to lean it towards the unlucky side, there's always a trick that kids love in illustrations. Everybody actually loves to view an illustration where the audience knows something that the main character in the shot doesn't know. And so if you wanted to lean it bad luck, you lower him a little bit but instead of having him looking down like Will's thumbnail, you have him like totally content, like, oh my gosh, I'm saved. I didn't, my parachute got hung up in this tree, and then show all the stuff. He doesn't see all the stuff down below.
Right.
And so that's a great little moment when the audience gets to know something that the main character doesn't.
Right. So I'm going to put that one under ambiguous a little bit, although it's really close.
It's close. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really close. This one, it says lucky on it. It asks more questions than it answers. His wheels falling off, his wheels coming off, or it's just disintegrating. He's run really hard, but if his wheel came off, how in the story are you showing that he still won? What happened to the other guys? If their wheels didn't come off, how come they didn't win? To me, it asks more questions than it answers. It just didn't have enough story. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's just straight. It's straight on the head too.
This one could go under boring, lucky. There's just not much story. Great drawing. It's a beautiful illustration. But what's going to make me remember this?
The guy,
concept-wise.
some detail. All the details have to sort of match with the story you're trying to tell too. And like this old guy racing, maybe he's like what I was talking about earlier. He's the unexpected winner. Right. Mm-hmm. His car messed up. He's this old guy anyway. But then the guy who's like waving the checkered flag looks like he's just like standing in a parking lot. It doesn't look like they're at a race. I mean, I see the crowd back there, but like I was saying earlier, contrast creates some interest in this and it helps tell the story. Mm-hmm. So maybe showing the front of another car, having it look like a guy who's actually on a track, it's not just going to be this guy. He looks like a pedestrian who somebody just handed a flag to. So the details matter with the storytelling.
Yep. Okay, moving along. This one, I didn't do a draw over on this one. This one relies on the words again. If you didn't have the words, you wouldn't know what was going on in there. And so that one is, again, I'm going to put that one under ambiguous and unrelatable, because you can't do an illustration that relies on words. And the other thing for me is, and maybe you guys have seen this before, but it's unrelatable because I've never seen a contest where you have to find a certain gumball. So your job as illustrators is to write stories that other people can relate with. The reason jokes are funny or not funny is because they remind us of things that we've had in life. When you get around a campfire or you're sitting around with family and someone tells a story that makes you think of something that happened in your life, you can't wait to say, that reminds me of the time that this happened. That's what your illustration should be like. They should remind your viewers of the time that this happened to them, right? So if that's not a common thing, or if you're making up it seems invented to me, and not something that's really common to people.
Yeah, and this is sort of an example of that. How it plays out with that warning I was giving you guys earlier with the key. Oh, the key is really important, but the key is really small. So how do I make this illustration with this tiny thing? And this is an exact illustration where that happened. You got to look how small that gumball is. Yeah, that's our focal point. And so it's just, there's nothing exciting about that. If you're going to do it and it's going to be the black gumball, say this is the story that was written for you and you have to illustrate this. What are you doing, Will? I mean, I know Will's work well enough. Will's zooming in on that black gumball.
The kid's going to be, he's going to be front and center, holding that big black gumball in our face,
Right. It's going to be close, like little objects moved closer or bigger. And so it just needs to be composed in a way that highlights he got the thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And right now it's just telling us that he got it. And we assume that if you got that, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
But the illustration doesn't show it.
Yeah. Okay, next. This one we thought was drawn extremely well. I mean, I love the style on this.
So nice.
But again, I think it's relying on the words, and the concept is really hard to figure out. You can figure out the concept on this. He had a pre-made potion, and when he gets to the final exam, the teacher, but there's a certain amount of investigation that has to happen in order to get the concept. And I'm telling you, you guys have like a second to capture an art director's attention. You have like, at the most, you have like 1 or 2 seconds. You do not have time for an art director to go, well, what is actually happening here? They won't do it. They either relate to it right away or they don't. So I'm going to put this one under ambiguous as well.
The style is so good, though. I just want you guys to really hear that. Like
this would have been in my top 16 for style. Yeah. I wanted to put this in there.
Drawing is great. Yeah. Everything about it is so cool. The shapes are great. It's just, we're looking at it going, me and Will are having to look around. We're reading the board. Mm-hmm. If we're having to look around and read things in the image, there's just needs to be more clarity.
Yeah. So in the chat, Angelina's saying that it's very common in Canada. So, and maybe it is, and maybe all it really needs is, is to be redesigned where the kid's in the foreground holding that up into the camera, holding the gumball, and having the other kids in the background, a celebration. Maybe one of them sad that they didn't find it, that they didn't get it, but a little bit better design to make it more clear. Okay.
And that's where you got to learn your tricks. I mean, that's why you're going to school here, is like, oh, I got a little object. Look at this little, I just won this ticket. I won the lottery, Will. Look at me. Okay. Now look at the ticket now.
Yeah.
In terms of how big that is.
Right.
Back here, it's nothing.
Yeah, somewhere bigger. Yeah. Yep. In design. This one, we didn't really know what was happening, but I just wanted to make a really quick comment visually that anytime you put something up in the air, it's going to look like it's tightrope walking, but where the rope is kind of following the hillside there, it's really confusing as to what's actually happening. And we just didn't feel like it solved luck.
We didn't know what was going on.
We didn't know what was going on. So that one's going to go under the ambiguous column as well. Okay. So moving along here. Here was a couple more that we felt were using either a word lucky or a symbol, the horseshoe lucky. So both of these are going to go in the symbol of lucky. So that really wasn't much storytelling happening there of why, yes, there's a big shark or a big fish coming, but how's the horseshoe helping them? It's not really.
And we're also used to seeing that. I mean, like in fishing, a big fish eating a smaller fish is kind of everyday fare. So so what's the change you're going to make on that?
Right. This one was great. And the concept on this is really working. But I think it needs a redesign. I didn't have time to draw over this one. I was going to do it today, but one of the things that I would do is I think I would have this guy getting ready to post the sign, with his arms sold out, rather than it just already being there. Right.
So it's more active.
Well, because the people that got in last have just rounded the corner. So they have to be putting up that sign. So the moment in time that you choose is so important, right? It's the putting it up where that's what's going to piss everybody off, is watching them put up the sold out sign. There's some other design issues with this one where everyone's about the same size. And I think there's a way to do this to make it visually more interesting as well. But I'm going to go ahead and put this under interesting lucky, because it's a solid concept.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lee?
Yeah. It's a solid concept. I think you don't even have to draw this much. I agree. You need to focus on that window a little more and the scene up there. So like the building takes up an awkward amount of space in the shot. And so then I would start to look at the art elements. So you got an interesting concept, which is scarcity. Right. Anytime there's scarcity and somebody gets the thing, they're lucky.
Right.
But you can zoom in and make a better shot.
Right. Okay. Moving along quickly because we're running out of time. We didn't know what this one was. We couldn't tell why someone or all of them were lucky. It looks like it's a fun idea where they're all looking at something that's above them that we can't even see, but are
we the thing they're looking at? I mean, that's the thing we were talking about, is like, are we like a piñata looking down, or I just don't know. We were something was in that box, I'm assuming.
Putting it under ambiguous.
Yeah, I don't know.
Moving right along. This one was the one that we thought could work with the symbol of the 4-leaf clover, because there's more story here. It's like, it appeared to us that the main character is trying to grow a 4-leaf clover, and because it even says last try on here, right? So you have like all these failed ones. These didn't work out. We were thinking that it could make it better or even stronger if there was like some kind of apparatus to show that he's like doing some kind of, maybe even like organic chemistry to make his chances better that he's going to come up with this 4-leaf clover. So we added in these, like if you just had some apparatus in there and maybe he's got, some kind of equipment that he's using, it could make it stronger. But I would put this under the interesting category because I think it's really, really close. Next one is this one by Kim. And this one to me failed because not failed, fails the wrong term. The illustration is absolutely wonderful with the emotions of these kids in the background here. I mean, they're all hating their Brussels sprouts. So basically what this one comes down to is how can we make this stronger? And the reason I say that is because dogs like meat in general. Yes, I know that there's that one dog in 100 that likes vegetables, but most dogs, I mean, I've had like 6 dogs in my life and none of them would eat a vegetable to save their life. But you put meat in front of them. So I would do something where it's, you know, like a hot dog or something falling from the table where you can tell that the dog is going to be lucky, you know. And it's that moment where he sees. So I knew there was somebody going to be here. I said to Lee, we're going to find out all the people here who have dogs that eat fruits and vegetables.
That's right.
And Alicia's does. In general, that's not going to hit with most people. So that one I would put under it's really close. I don't know. Would you put this one under interesting if it were fixed a little bit? Let me ask you guys, where would you put this one as a whole? I'm looking in the comments, see if people are willing to weigh in on this. Interesting, lucky, not lucky, interesting, not lucky, interesting, ambiguous, interesting, not lucky, ambiguous. Yeah, it's not hitting totally on. So I'll put it under ambiguous, because I think the concept would be there if it was the right thing for the dog, something that the dog really cares about. So Sarah says something interesting. It doesn't matter about whether the dogs usually eat veg. It's difficult to read with the Brussels sprouts. Oh, that's a good take too. Okay, so we got to move on because we're like out of time.
Jake all of a sudden showed up. What's going on here?
Yeah, Jake is late always.
Jake is back from the Amazon.
You talk about this one, Lee. Real quick, give me 15 seconds on this.
Yeah, this one's it's just symbols. It's going through a list, what's lucky, what's unlucky, and then drawing out the symbols, but nothing's happening with that luck. And then there's some ambiguity here. We tried to figure out what this thing is saying. I just couldn't figure it out. It just took too long and too much work. As an art director, you got, how long? 2 seconds, Will? Maybe 3. Yeah. It's done. And they're on to the next thing. So it's too much right on the head, too much symbol, in my opinion, and a little bit of ambiguity. Okay. So we're going to go on with this one here. This one by Victor. There's so much happening here. As an art director, I'm trying to figure out what I'm seeing. It's not clear. It looks like there's some rock, papers, and scissors going on, but there's also like lava or lava something. Monster. Yeah. And then there's someone winning at poker. It looks like. I think they won at paper, rock, scissors. That would be my guess, but man, it's a lot of work to get there. Poker chips at rock, paper, scissors, right. So the concept to me. Oh, Oreos. Are they Oreos? They're stacked as poker chips. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to relate. So I'm going to put that under ambiguous. It needs the concept. Beautiful drawing there. You've got to beat us over the head with it being relatable, and the concept needs to be super clear.
Going back to that one, so paper, rock, scissors. There's a luck element to it, right? So, but this kid that won is the kid who did lava, which gives him the competitive advantage. So he wasn't lucky. He gamed the system, sort of. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, hi guys, how's it going?
Hey, good, man. How you
doing? Just back from the Amazon. Piranhas are doing good.
So,
all right. Last but not least.
So this one we didn't understand either. So we just didn't understand.
Yeah, she's in the middle of a field, and a bell has fallen, and she's got to admit one ticket. So maybe, we're trying to, just us walking through it, gave us the answer about whether this works or not. Is like, okay, she's in a park and she bought a ticket to the park, but then she's having a picnic right there. And
what's the brown
$1
diamond underneath the bell?
Dog. Oh no, picnic blanket with a
picnic
little
blanket.
It's
I don't know.
Well, I will say this. One thing that I really like about it is how graphic. Look at the good atmospheric perspective. I mean,
the art's cool.
This illustrator, Kevin, knows how to illustrate. So that's why she picked up $1 and dodged the bell that fell where she was sitting.
But why would a bell be right over
right?
In
So
the field?
then it asks. So then there's questions of like, you're not showing us that she's in a place where a bell could fall. So the way to show something like this would be to have somebody pulling on the rope to ring the bell, and you're seeing this, like a big guy just yanking. I remember when my grandfather used to actually ring the bell at the church that he was a sexton at, and so he's the caretaker of this church, my grandfather, and he used to do this. He used to have to jump up and grab the rope and hang on the rope to pull it down, right? And then he would ride it back up and jump off the ground. I mean, and I remember watching him. I wanted to do it as a kid, and he wouldn't let me do it. He's like, it's too dangerous. But if you have that guy ringing the bell, there's a lot of pressure on the rope. It could fall. The rope could snap, right? Something could happen. Yeah. You gotta show that the bell can't just show up. So I put that one under ambiguous. This one right here, to me, is both unlucky and lucky, and this is a good one. This is not that bad. It's just that there's a lot of action and it's all happening in the same place. So there's really not one main focal point. And I would rather see you guys take a stand on something like this, and you can show the kids getting unlucky. You can show the dog getting lucky. You can move the dog, like into the foreground. So, I mean, we could push that too, like that.
The dog's lucky.
Yeah, the dog is lucky, so we could even, bring him out even further and just show that.
There we go.
What confuses it a little bit too is that, well, I guess there's some symbolism there. If the horseshoe is upside down, the luck falls out, and the dog has a 4-leaf clover on his collar. So that's kind of implying a little bit more that if you know what luck iconic imagery is, it might help you suss it out. But really, you can't rely on that,
right,
when you're doing an illustration like this.
Right. So this one, I would put this under interesting and lucky.
And watch out for I'm hitting on a lot of the art elements themselves, but if you look at the 3 things that are in here, they're exact distance from each other, and all of them take up the same visual weight.
Yeah.
So it's just really hard to know what to do.
Yeah. As
a viewer.
Okay, moving on. We didn't really understand this one. Like we get that the woman here is lucky that the plants aren't falling on her, but where she's on that side of the bench and where the bench is in relation to the wall, it looks like the plants would have fallen behind her anyway. And so I think what the artist is saying is she's going to be lucky because the dog saw a squirrel, and it's a good start to being able to solve this, but I think it's in the execution of the way things are drawn. So like, I think the way that I would draw it is, building here, bench here, right? And then something, object falling right here, and girl being, yanked away by the dog in the tree and the squirrel over here. So you see,
I'd go one step further, have the bench like completely destroyed by a piano or something.
Yeah. So now your bench is like splintered
and she's clearly
she's just gotten pulled up. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ways to do it.
Yep. So would you put that under ambiguous? I think is where I'd put it.
Unrelatable, ambiguous. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, we do have some. I should tell you guys. We're doing this little crit. We did the little lecture, but we do have 4 images to vote on.
Yeah, we do.
How much more do we have to go through?
We don't have to go through all this. We could stop right now.
Did you do your little draw over on that one?
I didn't have time, but I did do this where I was on this one. You know, she's getting the tickets. I think you need to show more story, like the machine's malfunctioning, it's spitting out tons of tickets. Maybe the manager's pissed off and the maintenance workers try to figure out how to stop all these tickets from coming out. But you've got to tell more story. Maybe there's a bunch of kids all going after those tickets, you know, and not just one in the foreground right in our face, but actually like, you know, in different poses, reaching and grabbing at these tickets. Let me see if there's any other drawovers that I did. I think, oops.
Do that. Just do the cat one, and let's then go to the voting.
Okay.
And then maybe we can keep going if people want to stick around, but we're already at the hour. So
yeah. If
you have drawovers, you can just like show them, and
I'll just show them really quick
too.
This one right here, I think the cat. It's like we don't know if he's going to be lucky. Make him miss. You know, like the bird. We don't make a decision. Who's lucky, right? Or make the cat lucky by showing. Oops. Let's see. Let's move this up. Make the cat lucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't be in the middle. Got to take a stand.
Yeah, take a stand. Okay. So we should probably go do the voting.
Let's do that. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Stop sharing your screen. Oh, I can just take it from you. I didn't know that was an option. I'm going to start doing that in all your lectures. So again, those, we don't want to say, oh, those had nothing good about them. And you know, there's no redeeming qualities. There's a ton of beautiful work in there. And those are just ways that we think they could have been enhanced and help clarity. However, there were 4 that I thought sort of rose to the top, and Will thought that as well. And so we thought we'd go ahead and have a little vote-see going on here. How do I get them to, how do I do the vote again?
If you want to give it to me, I can do the poll.
How do I give it to you?
Just make me host.
Yeah, but then won't it take my screen share?
I don't think so.
I'll make you the host with the most. I don't care. Hold on. Host. Which SVS learn are you? Can you rename yourself real quick?
Yeah.
We're all SVS learn.
Learn are you?
Except for me. I'm Lucky Lee.
This is where we really need clown music playing in the background.
Yeah, all of us are here. Our team is freaking out right now because we're having a vote. They didn't know this was happening. Jake's here for whatever reason. So it's all
okay.
All wheels off. Okay, so I make you the host.
Got it.
You just took it from me.
Yeah.
Okay. Throw up the poll then there.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
And we'll talk about these too, by the way. Here, I'll zoom in so you guys can see these. This is Kem Rosenloff and Aurelia. Very frequent.
Yeah, there you go.
Frequent flyer here on, no pun intended, on Critique Arena. These are great, but I'll talk about them in a second after Jake figures out the poll. See, he's so smart when he's doing that, but then where's the poll?
Well,
where's the poll?
This is some advanced zooming I'm doing right
bro.
now. You guys keep doing the song and dance.
Da, 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 da.
You guys are lucky Jake showed up. That's what Pamela says. That's true.
We can talk about here. I'll go ahead and talk about these
illustration.
while they're up. Okay, so the left one, fantastic solution. You know, sometimes you're just born lucky, and
Right.
the solution to, remember I was talking earlier about compare and contrast, and that gives you an interesting image. And so this one did that. All the birds there, the penguin and the ostrich, all these birds can't fly, and then you got the one that's flying, and you can imagine how frustrating that is for these birds. So I thought the concept is hilarious. And again, compare and contrast, all these easy things. You change your scale, you compare and contrast things, all of a sudden you get easy access to better images. And so we're just trying to show you those sort of shortcuts. And then on the right here, like I was talking about earlier, again, compare and contrast. And then we're dealing with the concept of scarcity. And we've got that just a really clean, simple illustration. I mean, an art director sees it and they're going to say, yep, she's lucky and he's not lucky. I mean, it does fall under that, 50-50. Like he's unlucky, she's lucky. So which one is it? But it's so clear and so simple and then very well done. So you just have this simple kind of concept and then executed well.
Since we're not orthodox this time, I will say on Aurelia's, I love the painting. The only thing that I would do differently on that is I would show the ice cream shop worker putting out the sold out sign.
Yeah. And we can mess around with that. Like the composition could probably be increased a little bit. Cause again, look at their scale here. And this one too, the composition could be increased. Like anytime you ground, sort of like what we were talking about with that tightrope earlier, anytime you ground something, it takes it out of the sky. And so just clearing this guy with the penguin would have been probably a better call.
I can easily see Aurelia.
We are voting on these and people are asking, we're just trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah. It's normally just sitting right there where it says launch a poll, but is it showing up for you guys or is it not?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see launch a poll and I go to create a poll, but on the website, it doesn't allow me to edit. What is a new poll or make a poll. So we don't have the poll option.
Oh man. What do we have? We're gonna have 4 winners here. Well, let's just talk about them. I don't know what to do here. If we can't, do we have people vote in the chat? Oh man. I shouldn't even have said that. Now there's gonna be A, it's B, it's B, it's A. I don't know what to do here. You want me to show you?
Did they change something on Zoom?
Of course, they always change.
You have to download the latest version or something.
I gotta be fair to our team that this is why they don't like us doing these things on the fly. And then we're like, no, we're gonna do it. And then it totally
says you guys vote. Maybe it's an us vote.
All right, let's do that.
How many of you guys think we should vote this time?
That's true. We're sort of
okay
leading this one anyway. So let's go ahead and do it. And there's 3 of us, so it can't be.
Okay, they've all voted that we should vote.
Okay, let's do just based on the rock, paper, scissors thing. Let's just do a 1 or 2. And when I count to 3, you either hold up a 1 or 2. And 1 is for the left, 2 is for the right, obviously.
Okay.
Here we go.
1 is left, 2 is right.
Yeah. And we're just gonna go 1, 2, 3, and
hold
then
it up in the camera.
show your vote. Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Well, that was easy.
I actually had a card ready.
Kim's idea is great. I think that the execution could be a little bit better in the design. It's really good. I mean, we get the concept pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Do we want to talk about why we voted for?
I agree with you. It's the execution. It's like cropped a little too tight.
Yeah.
There's kind of some inconsistency on design there. So like ostrich has really detailed whites of the eyes and eyelashes, but then the penguins have like these big round Pokemon eyes.
Doesn't quite feel finished is what you're saying overall.
Yeah.
All right, do you guys want to see the other 2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Back up a little bit and pull it out. All right. I will zoom in so you guys can see, so don't yell at me yet. This is another familiar. God, I cannot get the exact right size that I want here. This is Merrick's, definitely no stranger to Critique Arena and the winning circle of Critique Arena. Beautiful image. And this is Joanna Kim. She's also a frequent flyer of Critique Arena. And man, this is quite a battle here. Should we vote and then we'll talk about them, or do we talk about them and then vote?
Let's vote.
Oh man, hold on. I don't know. Oh man. All right, here we go.
This is tough.
Okay, let's do it.
The left is 1, the right is 2, just like last time.
1.
Wait. What's our criteria? Is the criteria that they would be able to get illustration?
No. You don't get that. The audience normally doesn't get that when they're voting every week. It's 1 against 2. You know what the theme is. That's what it is.
All right.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. So I knew Lee was going to vote that way, Jake. So I got to decide which one won.
I know.
Because I knew that
Why'd you choose Joanna's?
Because I feel like, because I'm using the criteria, I think Joanna's would get more children's book work, and I think that Merrick's is a really, really solid idea for this assignment.
Both these Merrick's are such pro level.
Merrick's a magazine cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time. I mean, you could see that in Time. Both these are so pro. I like Joanna's take on it though, and it's something that we didn't talk about too much, and that's wishing for luck. It goes into symbolism a little bit, and she explained it here. Gretel and Hansel wished for luck, and then there's the classic like blowing on a dandelion. But it's such an interesting take on that I would be pulled into it anyway.
I don't think it should have won. It needed to be explained, and the first one doesn't need any explanation.
It's a good point.
No, it doesn't need to be explained. I mean, if you see somebody blowing a dandelion like that and it's glowing, I mean, don't you know that blowing a dandelion is good luck? I mean, that's a classic symbol of luck. And
no. This was a mess this time, you guys.
No, but you can see there's definitely I love Merrick's too. I wish both of them could win actually, but as all you guys do when you vote every time. But I'm more drawn to the image because I mean, here's an example. Like Will, even doing his lecture, came up with a plane crashing and somebody coming down in a parachute.
Mm-hmm.
And different payoff. That person was landing in a shark's mouth. This guy's landing on a boat with pretty ladies. But you can see it's a great solution, visually on the money, but more interesting illustration on the right. And so at some point, I don't know which one wins. Is it like, okay, the concept was perfect, or was it a more interesting interpretation of the concept and you had to work a little bit? I don't know.
I think Merrick has way better lighting too. Way better color.
You're stupid.
Hopefully we haven't made things worse for you guys and for us in doing this. I do have a couple more drawovers that we could show and another piece that really worked.
Joanna's has really good character design.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm not sure what the grandma is up at the top. Is that a sign of luck too?
I think it's a witch. You don't know nothing. Let's move on.
Okay, I'm going to take the screen sharing back.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So this was one that was a good idea, right? It's a way to take that 4-leaf clover idea of a symbol and actually put it in an illustration. My problem with this one and the next one I'm going to show you is I think you can come up with good ideas, and this is advice for the future. You can come up with ideas that satisfy the prompt, all right, that are good ideas and that are in the interesting and lucky category down here. But will they get you work as an illustrator? And I don't think this one is that good for getting you work. It's not showing kids or really animals. It's to me, it would be a waste to put this in your portfolio. I would use my portfolio. I think there would definitely be things that I'd want to show in my portfolio that have an art director see other than this. So for that reason, I'm going to ding it a little bit. I think this one was actually done, same idea, done a little bit better. Like this one is like, how did he get missed? Did he stick his head up after the lawnmower went across? It's a little confusing to me. This one, it looks like, this is a patch that the lawnmower missed. And this is just really well done. This great lighting, and really, really nice drawing and stuff. And so I really like that one. Any comments from you guys?
Oh, it's cool to see the same concept sort of done in two different ways. And you can kind of see how composition and color balance change a piece. I mean, like I said, I just wrote this in the chat, but if you're not reading the chat, I said the main thing, because people are like, hey, that's confusing on how I just voted and whatever. I said the main thing is that it's not science. All we're trying to do is check off the boxes, and at the end of the day, make pieces of art that move people. Yeah. The idea isn't a perfect recipe that wins every time. It's impossible.
Let me see.
The idea is to get to the obvious snags out of the way and move towards better imagery. And that's sort of what that one is showing.
Right. This one, just doing a couple real last quick ones. To me, the mice got lucky because they found all this spaghetti and they're just having a feast. And it looks like the cat is also about to get lucky. I would redesign this one and show the cat kind of happening by, so it's a little bit more clear. With this, it's hard to even see that cat back in there, so I think I'd have basically two different animals are going to get lucky, and I think it's a good concept. Okay. I don't want to talk about that one right now or that one. We just don't have time to hit them all. I'm going to hit one more, I think, and that's this one here, which is a good idea. You're at the beach and you're digging in the sand and you're making sandcastles as a kid, and you dig down and hit a treasure chest. This one's, to me, I think it needs to be shown a little differently. Like, you're digging down in the hole, and my drawing is horrible. I would, this is not what I would come up with, but basically just the idea of showing that they're pulling that, they're reaching down into this treasure chest and pulling stuff out, not just, this picture perfect treasure chest that's just completely unearthed. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it doesn't look like the treasure chest was just found due to all the details, like you're saying.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Somehow showing that they dug down and hit it, and it's a hard thing to show. But pulling maybe goblets out and old Spanish galleon treasure would be more, I don't know, would convey the idea a little bit better. Anyway, that's all I got.
All right, I got to bounce. I just wanted to pop
Hey,
in and
well,
say hey.
Thanks,
for
you
showing
guys.
up.
We're really glad to be able to have done this. We hope it makes things better for you guys in the future. And the next time we do one word prompts, you might even want to, check this link out and go through this stuff again. Also, I created a class at SVS called Developing Great Visual Stories. And it's basically how to come up with a great concept. That's the class, Developing Great Visual Stories. So if you haven't looked at that class, do that class before the next one word prompt. I promise it'll really help. It'll help for any of the illustrations you're doing to come up with a good prompt. But that's basically, you can't start drawing until you have a really good idea. In fact, for me, at the point that I'm at in my career, I never even start. All I do is work on a concept until all of a sudden it's, oh, that's it. It's going to be funny, or it's going to be interesting or whatever. And then I start to draw it, and I know it's a great idea from the start. If I have any questions on the idea, it never turns into a good illustration. And I've learned not to even start drawing until I have a good idea. I'll doodle to get that idea, but I won't start drawing my final working on the illustration until I have a great idea.
Yep. Austin wanted us to go ahead and pitch what the next month's prompt is. Do we know what that is?
I do not.
What's our powers that be? We need
Is
manager
Austin
in here.
here?
Treehouse. Okay. Treehouse is the
Okay.
one. For next house, everybody else already knows.
I think that one could be super fun.
Well, again, let's
there's
go through
so
the
many
bells and
ideas.
whistles though. What's the thing they want to avoid with a
Don't
treehouse? Is there
do
something?
the common treehouse, unless you have a really good and interesting idea where you need to show really quickly the common treehouse, because something's happening there that's really interesting or different.
Yeah. Somebody was
Right.
asking what it's supposed to be shown in 3/4 view. So front view, side view, 3/4 view is
Yeah.
45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Front and side typically.
The prompt says not to tell a story.
What?
Why would we do that?
The prompt says
Okay.
not to tell a story?
Okay, so this one's just about a prop then, just for
Well,
concept design for environment.
I would tell you guys, go ahead and disregard that. If maybe it means don't tell a story, like put a family in there and have a scene going on, but
Yeah.
your treehouse is a story, whether you want to tell one or not.
Right.
The details you include, the
Yeah.
location that you pick, the materials that it's built out of, how it's built will all tell a story. Is it a kid building it? Is it a tribe building it? Those are questions that you'll have to answer. But like Will said, don't do a cliche treehouse, any old treehouse. It's gotta rise above.
I have a picture of something.
The
that I
building
could
will tell a
show,
story whether you guys want it to or not.
but
So
I
you
can't-
have no choice.
I wonder if
So
I can
lean
find it
into
really
that.
quick.
Have people lived in the treehouse for a long time? I always tell people that, like, say you're drawing a grandma's house. Well, you draw the regular house, but how's grandma live there? How does she do her laundry? How does she walk her dog? Or how does she get out to the front door? Does she trip on something? Like, you know what I mean? All the details. There's a house and there's a home. And the difference is the details and how it lives. And so
Right.
the treehouse is going to live differently if somebody's been there for seasons and years versus a kid who just built a treehouse in his backyard from Home Depot.
Let me share my screen really quick. So here is some furniture. This is in that great developing
Perfect.
great stories class. So these tell a story. What kind of story do these tell? And you can answer that. We don't need to answer that, but you can see, look at this chair is missing a leg down here.
Right. I think they were insinuating, just meaning don't put people in. It's not a character scene or a battle happening on the treehouse.
Right.
It's about the treehouse itself. Like just like this. This is a perfect example, Will.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Man, this has been fun. I like this. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see the stories and images that you guys make going forward.